Nobody expected this level of chaos. Jim Jones, a veteran in the game, just found himself on the receiving end of some of the most savage shots ever thrown by Jadakiss and Styles P. What started as a normal exchange quickly escalated into something fans are calling brutal, and the clips spreading online are proof that this wasn't just lyrical competition. This was a full-blown rap showdown. People are replaying every line, every gesture, and every reaction, trying to figure out who came out on top. And the tension? It's real. Not just the kind you feel while watching a music video, the kind you can almost feel through the screen. Sources close to the scene say that every word was calculated, every punchline aimed to hit Jim Jones where it hurts the most. No one expected Jadakiss and Styles P to go this hard, and that's exactly why the internet exploded the second the clips hit social media. But this isn't just about entertainment. In the streets and in hip-hop circles, respect matters more than headlines. And when legendary names like Jadakiss and Styles P decide to throw shots, it sends ripples that go far beyond the music. It's about reputation, influence, and proving who really holds power in the game. Fans are divided. Some are cheering for the legendary duo, calling it overdue justice. Others are watching closely to see how Jim Jones responds, because in situations like this, one wrong move can turn a lyrical battle into real-life tension. Stay tuned, because we're about to break down every line, every reaction, and every detail of this savage showdown. You won't believe how brutal it really got. As soon as the smoke cleared from the initial exchange, it became clear that this wasn't going to be just another lyrical spat. Jim Jones, a seasoned veteran, had underestimated just how serious Jadakiss and Styles P were prepared to go. What began as bars and wordplay quickly escalated into a full-on lyrical assault, leaving fans and insiders alike stunned. Every punchline, every diss, every subtle jab was calculated for maximum impact, and the reactions in the room told the real story. You could feel the tension just through the footage, and anyone familiar with street politics and hip-hop hierarchies knew that this could easily spiral beyond just music. Sources close to the scene explained that the build-up to this moment had been simmering for months. While many fans saw Jim Jones making moves in the industry, there were whispers in the streets about subtle clashes with Jadakiss and Styles P's camp. Small comments, overlooked disses, and perceived slights had created an environment where confrontation wasn't just likely, it was inevitable. When the moment finally arrived, it wasn't random. Every party involved was aware of the stakes. The energy in the room shifted immediately. Jim Jones, normally confident and composed, showed signs of hesitation. His posture changed. His responses slowed. Even small facial expressions were magnified in the eyes of onlookers who knew the history between these artists. In situations like this, micro-reactions carry weight. A single smirk or delayed response can be interpreted as disrespect, and in hip-hop circles, perceived disrespect can escalate quickly. Meanwhile, Jadakiss and Styles P were strategic. They weren't just delivering bars, they were sending a message. Every line was meticulously crafted to hit Jim Jones' reputation and credibility. Fans noticed the subtle references to past incidents, connections in the industry, and even personal choices that Jim Jones had made over the years. This wasn't a casual freestyle. It was a precision strike designed to challenge his status and authority. As the battle progressed, social media erupted. Clips spread across Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube almost instantly. Fans dissected every bar, paused every frame, and debated who came out on top. Comments ranged from outright cheering for Jadakiss and Styles P to defending Jim Jones, but one thing was clear: the stakes had grown far beyond simple entertainment. What had been a lyrical face-off had now turned into a street-level chess game, with reputation, alliances, and respect all hanging in the balance. Insiders also revealed that Jim Jones' response wasn't immediate. In the past, he would have reacted quickly, either with a diss track or a public statement. But this time, the calculations were different. The presence of not just one but two highly respected figures meant that any misstep could have long-lasting repercussions. Even seasoned veterans in the industry were advising caution, highlighting that while words were being exchanged, The reactions and interpretations by peers and fans could carry far more weight than the actual lines themselves. One of the more subtle but impactful elements of this encounter was body language. While Jim Jones tried to maintain composure, observers noted that the energy in the room was tense, almost palpable. On the other hand, Jadakiss and Styles P exhibited confidence and precision in their delivery. It wasn't just about the words, they were owning the room, commanding attention and letting everyone present know that their lines carried authority. This is a crucial factor in hip-hop confrontations, where perception often matters as much as content. What made the situation even more intriguing was the audience's reaction. Some longtime fans were shocked by the intensity of the exchange, while newer listeners were captivated by the drama unfolding in real time. The viral clips painted a picture of dominance and tension, and everyone watching could feel that this wasn't going to fade quietly. Social media amplification ensured that the incident would reach far beyond those physically present, making the stakes even higher. Every like, share, and comment effectively became part of the unfolding narrative, intensifying the pressure on Jim Jones to respond thoughtfully. Another layer to consider is the history between these artists. Jadakiss and Styles P are not just respected for their lyrical skill, they carry decades of credibility in hip-hop. Jim Jones, while equally influential, represents a different era and style. When these worlds collide, it's not just a battle of words, it's a clash of legacies, where every bar is interpreted in context and every response can influence fan perception and industry standing. The tension was further compounded by whispers of backstage dynamics. Some insiders hinted at subtle strategizing moments before the confrontation, where key figures in both camps were ensuring that their representatives were prepared for every angle. These weren't just casual disagreements. These were calculated moves in an ongoing game of reputation and influence. Every action, even outside the camera frame, mattered. By the end of the encounter, it was evident that Jim Jones had been tested like never before. His reactions, both verbal and nonverbal, were being analyzed frame by fans and critics alike. Meanwhile, Jadakiss and Styles P had delivered their lines with precision, leaving an indelible mark on the moment. Observers commented that the intensity of the exchange would likely be remembered for months, if not years, and could influence future collaborations, beefs, or alliances within the hip-hop world. In the aftermath, speculation ran wild. Fans debated the meaning of certain lines, interpreted gestures, and projected possible outcomes. Industry insiders began discussing what Jim Jones' next moves might be, weighing the risks of retaliation, reconciliation, or silence. This highlights the importance of strategy and timing in high-profile hip-hop confrontations. Acting too soon or too late can have consequences that go beyond the immediate moment. To truly understand the impact of this encounter, you have to look at the bigger picture. Hip-hop has a long history of legendary battles where reputations were tested, respect was negotiated, and legacies were shaped. This wasn't just another event. This was a moment that could define the narrative for all three artists involved. For Jim Jones, how he navigates the aftermath could either solidify his standing or leave him vulnerable to further challenges. For Jadakiss and Styles P, the encounter reinforced their dominance and demonstrated that even seasoned veterans are not immune to accountability in the game. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the encounter between Jim Jones, Jadakiss, and Styles P is more than just bars and performances. It's a study in strategy, reputation, and influence, and every move, word, and reaction matters. Fans are watching, insiders are calculating, and the industry is paying attention. The ripple effects of this battle are far-reaching, and how each artist responds will determine not just the outcome of this specific moment, but also their long-term legacies in the culture. As the dust settled from the initial exchange, questions began circulating fast. How did things escalate so quickly? Why were Jadakiss and Styles P so relentless? And most importantly, how would Jim Jones respond? While fans dissected every bar and gesture online, insiders had a far deeper understanding of what was unfolding behind the scenes. It all comes down to timing and history. Jim Jones isn't just any figure in hip-hop. He's someone whose moves have always carried weight. But when you step into a space dominated by legends like Jadakiss and Styles P, even seasoned veterans must adjust their strategies. Sources close to the scene reveal that this encounter didn't happen by accident. Tensions had been simmering for months, sparked by past remarks, social media exchanges, and subtle industry maneuvers. These weren't casual disagreements, they were strategic observations, quietly assessing each other's credibility, influence, and authority. One major factor in this encounter was perception. In hip-hop, reputation is everything. Every listener, fan, and insider watching knew the stakes were higher than a typical lyrical battle. One poorly received line could become the subject of online ridicule or, worse, spark real-world tension. For Jim Jones, a single misstep would not just impact his image, but could shift alliances and influence his position within the larger network of East Coast hip-hop. Body language played a huge role during this confrontation. Observers noted subtle shifts, the way Jim Jones moved, how he responded to the lines, even micro-expressions that spoke volumes. Whereas Jim Jones initially tried to maintain control, Jadakiss and Styles P exhibited calm authority, delivering their lines with precision and purpose. It wasn't just about dissing, it was about commanding the room and asserting dominance in a way that left little room for misinterpretation. Social media amplified the intensity. Within minutes, clips were shared across platforms, with fans debating line by line who landed the hardest punches. The viral spread wasn't limited to casual viewers. Industry insiders and collaborators weighed in, analyzing how each statement could affect future opportunities. In today's landscape, online attention is just as influential as what happens in person, and this moment highlighted the power of perception in real time. Beyond the immediate exchange, backstage dynamics added another layer of complexity. Sources suggest that members from both camps had strategized before the encounter. These weren't casual friends or casual beefs, they were calculated moves, ensuring that messages landed with maximum impact. Every gesture, every choice of words, and every timing decision was carefully considered. Even the smallest misstep could have had disproportionate consequences, potentially influencing future collaborations, business dealings, and street credibility. One of the most overlooked aspects is timing. Jim Jones has always been a figure of influence, but the timing of this exchange was critical. Both Jadakiss and Styles P knew how to leverage their moments to maximize impact, ensuring that their words would resonate both online and offline. By contrast, Jim Jones' response window was limited. React too quickly, and it looks reactive. Too slow, and it appears weak. Timing in these situations isn't just tactical, it's psychological. Insiders also emphasize the importance of audience perception. In these moments, the public doesn't just watch the exchange, they form judgments about credibility, dominance, and respect. Every comment online, every share, every viral clip contributes to the ongoing narrative. Fans quickly began splitting into factions, some defending Jim Jones, others praising Jadakiss and Styles P. The digital audience essentially became part of the battle, influencing how each move would be interpreted and what consequences might follow. There's also a legacy component. Jadakiss and Styles P have decades-long careers, respected for their lyrical skill and strategic thinking. Every line they deliver carries historical weight. Jim Jones, while influential, operates in a different lane. When these worlds collide, it's not just a lyrical battle, it's a clash of legacies, with the outcome impacting perception for years to come. This is why every single bar mattered so much, and why insiders were watching closely to see how Jim Jones would navigate the pressure. The tension didn't just exist in the room. Sources indicate that whispers and subtle communications before and after the exchange played a significant role in shaping the atmosphere. Key figures in both camps monitored the situation closely, guiding their respective artists to ensure the confrontation stayed impactful without spilling over into uncontrollable territory. It was a balancing act. One wrong signal and the moment could escalate beyond the intended lyrical confrontation. Fans also noticed subtle references within the lines. Jadakiss and Styles P weren't just throwing generic disses. They incorporated historical references, past collaborations, and known rivalries to amplify the weight of their words. These nuanced details make their approach more surgical and harder to respond to in a traditional sense. For Jim Jones, crafting a measured and effective response requires understanding every reference, intention, and implication embedded in those lines. What makes this story even more dramatic is the unpredictability of Jim Jones' next steps. Unlike the controlled delivery of Jadakiss and Styles P, his reputation for spontaneity adds tension. Fans and insiders alike are anticipating a response that could either reassert dominance or risk further scrutiny. Every decision, from recording a diss track to posting a social media reply, carries calculated risk, as the streets and the online audience are watching closely. This encounter also underscores a larger truth about hip-hop culture: respect is currency. While words can entertain, they also carry real-world implications. One poorly received line or a misinterpreted gesture can shift perceptions, influence alliances, and even alter long-standing relationships. Jim Jones, with his legacy and influence, must navigate this carefully. One wrong move could turn what was initially a controlled lyrical battle into a situation with lasting consequences. By the end of the day, it became evident that this wasn't just about a viral moment. It was a lesson in strategy, awareness, and timing. Jim Jones faced a test that required more than quick thinking. It required precise judgment and understanding of the broader cultural implications. Every move he makes now will be dissected by fans, insiders, and peers alike. The encounter also sparked speculation about what could happen next. Will Jim Jones retaliate lyrically, step back strategically, or find a way to reconcile? Each choice carries its own risks and benefits. Meanwhile, Jadakiss and Styles P have reinforced their reputations as precise, strategic, and dominant forces within the culture. This wasn't merely a diss, it was a statement about influence, credibility, and legacy. This saga makes one thing clear: the stakes are higher than anyone expected. The lines delivered by Jadakiss and Styles P weren't just for show. They were calculated strikes that tested Jim Jones' ability to respond under pressure. Fans, insiders, and the wider hip-hop community are watching closely, knowing that what happens next could redefine perceptions and potentially shift the balance of respect and influence in the industry. The room had emptied, the cameras stopped rolling, and yet the tension lingered. Even though the public saw only the performance, insiders knew the real story was unfolding behind the scenes. This is the phase where battles like this either fizzle out or escalate into something much bigger, and Jim Jones now finds himself at a crossroads. Every decision he makes in the coming days could define the next chapter of his career. Sources suggest that Jim Jones' team has already begun analyzing the encounter line by line. Every jab, every reference, every pause was dissected. The goal isn't just to understand what was said, but what it implies. In the hip-hop world, implications matter just as much as words. Alliances are fragile, reputations are earned and lost in moments, and a single misstep can trigger ripple effects across the industry. One potential consequence that insiders are warning about is the perception of weakness. Even if Jim Jones doesn't respond immediately, silence can be interpreted as hesitation. On the other hand, responding too aggressively could escalate tensions unnecessarily. It's a delicate balance, one that requires strategy, timing, and an understanding of the underlying power dynamics at play. Meanwhile, Jadakiss and Styles P aren't just sitting back. Observers note that their calm, calculated approach has strengthened their position. Every bar they dropped reinforced their dominance and reminded the culture that experience, precision, and authority still carry weight. It's not just about disrespecting Jim Jones, it's about cementing influence and asserting leadership in the game. Another insider perspective highlights the role of fans and social media. Viral clips and online discussions amplify every move. Every reaction, comment, and meme becomes part of the narrative. In today's hip-hop landscape, public opinion can influence real-world decisions. For Jim Jones, navigating this digital storm while maintaining credibility and authority adds another layer of complexity. Industry experts also point out the legacy element. Jadakiss and Styles P have decades of credibility behind them. Jim Jones, while influential, is being measured against a standard set by legends. One misstep, one poorly timed response, and the narrative could swing permanently. This is why the next few weeks are critical. Every decision, from interviews to social media posts to musical releases, could shape the story for months. Some insiders hint at private meetings behind the scenes. Mutual connections may be mediating, attempting to prevent the situation from escalating into a real-life confrontation. These interactions aren't public, but they are crucial. They determine whether the outcome is a controlled resolution or a slow-burning conflict. Street logic, history, and experience all play a role in how these encounters are managed off-camera. Timing remains a key factor. Jim Jones has limited windows to respond effectively. Immediate reactions could appear defensive, while delayed responses risk appearing weak. Strategic moves are needed, not emotional ones. That's why veteran voices advise caution, reminding Jim Jones and his team that perception is everything in moments like this. Social media continues to buzz. Fans are divided, some praising Jadakiss and Styles P for their precision, others defending Jim Jones and predicting a comeback. This digital engagement doesn't just fuel conversation, it shapes reputation. In some cases, it even influences industry decisions, such as future collaborations, endorsements, or appearances. Every like, share, and comment becomes a small piece of a larger puzzle. Another key point to consider is long-term impact. Battles like this don't exist in isolation. They influence future interactions, alliances, and rivalries. Even if Jim Jones resolves the situation quietly, it becomes part of his career narrative. Every lyric, every response, and every interaction now carries additional weight because of this encounter. It's a defining moment in his ongoing story. Finally, insiders predict that this story could take multiple paths. The best-case scenario, Jim Jones navigates carefully, restoring credibility without escalation. The worst-case scenario, miscalculations or reactive moves could reignite tension and transform a lyrical battle into a broader dispute. The stakes are real, and the outcomes could impact not just reputations, but the dynamics of East Coast hip-hop for months. If you thought this encounter between Jim Jones, Jadakiss, and Styles P was intense, trust us, the story isn't over yet. The streets are buzzing, The internet is on fire, and every single move from here on out will be scrutinized by fans, insiders, and the hip-hop community at large. This is the moment where reputations are made or tested, and you don't want to miss a single update. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be the first to see exclusive breakdowns, insider analysis, and every new development as it happens. Hit the like button if you think Jim Jones has what it takes to respond strategically, or drop a comment to let us know how you think this situation will play out. Your voice matters. Fans everywhere are watching, debating, and predicting the next moves. Share this video with your friends who follow the latest hip-hop drama. The more eyes on this story, the more everyone stays informed, and the more we can track exactly how this encounter continues to unfold. We're breaking down every line, every reaction, and every behind-the-scenes detail so you don't miss a beat. Remember, in situations like this, timing, strategy, and awareness are everything. The streets don't wait, the industry doesn't pause, and fans are paying attention. Stay tuned, stay alert, and keep watching because in the world of hip-hop, the next move could change everything. Don't blink, because the drama is far from over, and the next twist could happen at any moment.